Hey guys, it's Jordan here from the future. So, we were listening back to this audio clip and we realized that some of our audio is a little wonky, a little weird, a little unbearable to us, at least. We hope for you that's not the case. We did decide that we are still going to air this episode, even though we did find some issues. Now, these issues aren't incredibly glaring, but they're there. We know that they're there. We found out the problem. We fixed it. We're so sorry. We actually recorded about 2 hours of content and then realized the problem. So, this is just me apologizing for that. Hopefully, you still enjoy this episode and hopefully, you still have a good time while listening to it. We really appreciate you for being here and for getting through it. We promise next week will be a lot better. But with that all out of the way, I do hope you enjoy and have a great day. Lovers.
Welcome back.
This is Rewind with Project J&K, a new podcast that we're working on. So, did you just watch the latest movie? We did too. So, let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, of course, spoilers are ahead. That's just kind of
obvious. Come on,
that's now. Pretty obvious. We're going to be going over some of the hottest movies that are coming out right now. We're pretty excited about it. And this first one's really about the horror of getting exactly what you asked for.
What are we talking about today?
We're talking about Obsession.
Ooh.
Yeah, welcome back. So, we're talking about the 2026 horror film that has been literally absolutely
blowing up
everywhere. It's everywhere. So, if you've been online, you've probably heard a lot of people talking about it. Maybe you've even watched it yourself.
Most likely.
And if you haven't, well, you need to really understand what we're dealing with here. So, Obsession is one of those rare films that's simultaneously a massive, and I'm talking about massive, commercial success, and it's legitimately unsettling. So it's the kind of horror that stays with you not because of jump scares or gore, but because it taps into something deeply human and deeply uncomfortable. The terror of literally the name of the movie, of obsession. It's the danger of being loved too much. It's the horror of your own desires being weaponized against you.
It's that innate, uncanny. I feel like that's one of those real deep horrors of just like something being just like slightly off.
Yeah. So, let's get into it. A quick recap of the movie. I'm going to be pretty light on the details because I think that part of the real magic of this film is seeing it in person and watching how it all unfolds.
Breaking it down. Honestly, giving a shout out to all the cast and the directors and everybody that really went into making this. They did all a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, they really did their best, especially on such a low-budget movie, only grossing $750,000 to make. Definitely killing it with an over $400 million like gross afterward. What an excellent movie.
Yeah, and I mean, enough hyping up the movie. Let's get into it. Let's get into a little bit of the plot. So our protagonist is Bear, played by Michael Johnston, a music store employee. He's literally a hopeless romantic. He's socially awkward, has a long-standing crush on his coworker Nikki. She is his friend, but he wants a lot more. We can tell that from literally the beginning. So because he's stuck in that painful limbo of unrequited feelings, he does something super desperate. He goes out, he buys a novelty item from an antique shop called a One Wish Willow. It's a little tiny toy. Basically, what you're supposed to do is make a wish and then you break it. Obviously, this won't work. It's just junk. But Bear's in that headspace where he's absolutely willing to try anything and everything. So he makes his wish. I wish for Nikki to love me more than anything in the world. He breaks it.
Very innocent, very light. No one was thinking anything about it.
Yeah, super innocent. It works, basically. So the problem here is that this is actually where the horror of the movie begins. Well, I mean, I want to go back just a touch because I don't even think it begins like right here. I think it begins literally in the opening scene. We open this movie and trigger warning for animal death. We open this with Bear finding his cat dead. You know, like his cat has gotten into some of his pills that he has and is just dead on the floor. That's the opening scene. That's the lovely way that we are introduced into this world.
Just a dead cat.
Yep. And I think that was probably that was really sad.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, it was really, really sad. He comes upon his cat. He's just like absolutely devastated, of course. But then one thing that kind of I think keys into how he is as a person is that the way that he deals with his cat's death when he's hanging out with his friends later that day, he doesn't really bring it up.
Not really.
No, I find that kind of weird.
He mentions that later.
Yeah. I find that a little bit weird. He's not like kind of upfront because I know that if something that happened, like for my friends, I would tell them, something like that happens. I'm just like, I'm going to go to my support system. I'm going to get that support that I need. He's hiding it. He's a little bit more interested in showing himself off as like this perfect kind of polished person. But yeah, that to me is where the horror really begins. But let's get back to he's broken the one wish willow. Obsessed with Bear, not in a cute rom-com way, in a way
Name drop.
In a way that's psychologically terrifying. Her personality shifts, her behavior becomes increasingly unhinged. She's willing to do anything, say anything, harm anyone to be with Bear. And Bear, who wanted this more than anything, finds himself trapped.
That he does. And actually at the beginning, he doesn't know this yet. This will be something that will just unfold. He thinks all goes well for just a moment there.
Yeah, I mean, I just am like going back, remembering a little bit of what was happening during this moment. I think one of the creepiest things is that Nikki goes inside her house after he drops her off, makes the wish because he completely, and I mean this fuck-ass foil fumbles, like asking her out completely. And in his just like awkward, like, desperation breaks the wish because he just fumbles this girl so hard. Breaks the wish, and then nothing really happens. He thinks he's done, but then camera pans over. Nikki's just standing on.
Can I just appreciate how creepy and good of a shot that was?
Yeah, that shot is actually.
We hear the door. We hear the door close and everything. All we're doing is thinking that Nikki's inside her house and everything. This is just some BS. He just wished on a star, hoping that it all would have worked out. And then all you see as this is he looks over to see if Nikki has gone inside. And she's just standing there.
In the darkness.
Just
staring at him.
No, not staring at him. Back to his car, yeah. Back to the car, looking at the door, and then she turns around.
No, she's standing looking at him.
Is she standing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, it just standing, like, I see that in my notes, Like, she's standing, staring at him. Just, like, not moving. Obviously, something is really, really wrong here. It's
definitely
very
it's complete 180 on her personality.
Yeah, and so it's good that we brought up her because I wanted to start with going into Inde Navarrette's performance. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but her performance is actually pretty.
She definitely killed it.
Oh
she
my
was
gosh,
fucking phenomenal.
Phenomenal. So we should start there because her performance is absolutely central to why Obsession works. So it's why it works as well as it does. Her performance as Nikki is frankly one of the best horror performances in recent memory. And I genuinely don't think I'm overstating that. She probably is like on like there's a rank of like incredible female performances of horror movies and she's made it. Just with this, yeah, she's on there. So what Curry Barker does is he gives Navarrette a character who actually literally transforms. She's not possessed. She's not alien. She's still Nikki, technically. But Nikki distilled to her most obsessive, most dangerous essence. And Navarrette plays with it with this like unsettling charm that makes her both sympathetic and absolutely terrifying. So you can see why Bear might not immediately recognize the danger because there's still something magnetic about her, like in her performance, and that's all notes to Inde. She still is.
You could tell the
Nikki.
Difference. It was definitely like that. One of the biggest reasons we definitely should give her a lot of credit and flowers for is that the role that she was playing with prior to the Wish Willow being broken was a completely distinct character. And we only were introduced to this character for a rough 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes. Yeah. And then just have that be the being the Nikki that we see throughout the movie after the wish being like used on her is actually a very like night and day type of personality switch.
Yeah.
Same person, but just you can tell there's just something off.
She's still her, but she's not. And you can tell it in a couple of different ways. Just like the way that she moves, the way that she changes her vocal like inflections and like intonations and stuff just in the beginning. I mean, you can tell it definitely afterwards because some of the things she does and the way that she moves, especially I'm thinking about that flower pot moment when she gets into the apartment and she's staying with him. I'm thinking about her standing in the corner while he's sleeping.
There's a lot of things that just kind of go about the...
That's very obviously not Nikki.
And these are just things that go along with the story. As things are happening, she does, and just kind of, you can see cracks or chinks that this isn't really her.
Yeah.
And those are just all more terrifying. I think one of the freakiest things that happened is that post the wish being done, that same night, they do end up going to the main character's house, his bear, and going over to his house. And then just briefly, while they're having this makeout session, she cracks. And she just lets out this wailing scream. And I'm just so unsettled by it.
And that's real Nikki coming back because she's not doing what she wants to do, you know? And there's a couple of moments in the film where she does crack and a little bit of herself comes out. And it's honestly the most disturbing thing because it's like, what is happening to this girl inside of her own body? Because I think there's like 2 moments that come and these moments like really kind of solidify, I think, Inde's like genius during it because you can tell when Nikki comes back through during these times and they're violent, they're crazy, they're probably the best parts of the movie when she like lets that inner self like kind of peek back through. And I absolutely am obsessed with her performance, like absolutely obsessed with it. And I think that's like the brilliance of her performance. It makes you understand that her obsession, her love, even as it completely horrifies you, she's still not the villain.
Yes, because definitely it is a good time to give mention that even though Nikki was not the main character, she definitely stole the show. But this is no slouch to her actual, like, the main actor.
Yeah, I think that when you watch a lot of these, like, supernatural horror movies, it's because they're possessed by this demon and they become the villain. She isn't the villain. She's just a person who's been fundamentally altered by a wish. And I think that is somehow by leaps and bounds scarier than if she was just evil herself.
Yes. And then I want to give a shout out to the actor who played Bear because he definitely did a great job as well.
Boo.
Throughout,
tomato.
Listen.
Yes.
We don't like Bear around here, but if you can't deny that Michael Johnston played a fantastic, just like despicable, just not even like a bad, like in a regular essence bad person, but just a real kind of like slimy kind of person where it's like his choices and reasons just he plays the I'm just a good guy. I'm just trying to make sure like he's trying to play this goody two shoes character that is not goody two shoes. Yeah. The moment he gets some form of power or some form of dissatisfaction.
The moment he gets power and sees that he has power over what he wants and what he desires, he definitely refuses. He doesn't want to leave it.
Yes, he refuses to let it go.
Yeah.
Even if it comes to the detriment of other people.
So he makes that wish and then literally after that you can tell that it's disturbing. Weird. It's not normal. Like what he asked for isn't what he actually got. But that's when the excuses start.
It's just, in all honesty, just his character. It's definitely it's a transformation of just like this guy that presents himself as obviously a quote unquote good guy.
Yeah.
He just genuinely, there's a lot more that goes into his character. His character has a lot of depth, and as detestable as people like, I hate Bear. It's like the actor played a fantastic role. Yeah. He made us really, really look at this guy and be like, wow, this guy is just a piece of work.
Yeah, and I think that brings us back to one of our thematic elements that we're talking about here. It's the uncomfortable truth about desire that is brought up in this movie. So I think that one of the things that really elevates Obsession beyond being just like a normal run-of-the-mill average horror film, and what makes it truly incredible is that it's actually saying something unsettling about desire itself. Bear gets exactly what he asked for. The object of his affection loves him with absolute unwavering devotion, and it's absolutely freaking horrible. The film is essentially arguing that obsessive love, the kind that we've been sold as romantic movies, songs, multiple iterations, is actually a literal form of horror. When someone loves you so completely that you become their entire world, it's not romance. That is a prison. The film understands something that a lot of mainstream culture doesn't. Being loved too much by the wrong person in the wrong way is genuinely frightening. And it's uncomfortable because part of us, maybe, like, this is a shameful part, has fantasized about being loved like that, about being someone's entire world. Obsession says that no, you don't want that. You haven't thought this through. That's not true love. But yeah, I actually really love that thematic, the thematic thing that like runs through this entire film, that uncomfortableness about desire and the statement that it makes. And I think that's what makes this movie so good and so unsettling.
Listen, if you haven't watched it yet, definitely is one of those ones that you should put on your list. If you're not a big horror fan, I would still recommend this because, to be honest with you, definitely a horror film, but I wouldn't take it as one of those ones where it's like very gory or anything like that, where things happen well, it's here and there. But you should find out for yourself.
Definitely gory. I think one of the things, I love this movie so much, but I was hiding behind my blanket the entire time while I was watching it. I watched it all, but was I hiding? Yes.
Very unsettling.
Yes.
I don't feel like horror in the sense of just like you're going to be screaming the whole time, but very unsettled.
I think there's maybe one or two times that the whole theater did scream, though, and I give that, gotta give that. I wanted to scream.
I give a lot of credit to Inde Navarrette and her performance, especially her facial expressions. Absolute fucking terrifying.
Yes. Her ability to manipulate her face in a lot of these close-up shots. Oh my God. If anybody ever looks at me like that, I'm going home. No. No. I can't do this anymore. Actually, I have to leave. It's just this, unnerving smiles at the wrong times. There's one scene where her and Bear are having dinner after the wish is being made. They're actually a couple now, and she does make up this lie in the movie where she is saying that her dad is terminally ill, which is completely untrue. Bear ends up finding out that is actually untrue from all of her friends. Her dad's completely fine, and confronts her about it at a restaurant. And her reaction is probably one of my favorite quotable moments of 2026.
I think we all know the scene. It's the most famous line.
Yeah, she's like, no, and don't do that. I thought we were having a good time. Or thought we were having a good date. Mm-hmm. No. And she just says that.
Absolutely freaks everybody out.
Freaks out. Stands up in the middle of this restaurant. When you're in a restaurant and anybody makes a loud noise.
Makes a scene or something.
Makes a scene. Everybody's looking at you. And everybody's perceiving you and everybody knows that you're being weird. She does that, but it's max 10 out of 10. Taking from 0 to 100 real quick. Kind of scary. And I think one of the funniest things is that after she has this breakdown, the restaurant just goes back to what it was like before. Everybody just turns back to their food.
That was.
And if that isn't a statement, I don't know what is. That kind of brings us into our next segment a little bit. So this is a very low budget movie, which is pretty incredible. You mentioned it at the beginning, but the director, Curry Barker, made this film for about $750,000. It shows remarkable restraint and precision. He's not relying on expensive effects or jump scares, even though there are a couple. He's building dread through performance and through dialogue, through the claustrophobia of relationships and spaces. And I find that to be so interesting because in multiple of these scenes, some of the uncomfortability is there's not imminent danger that's there. It's the dialogue and the small space of an apartment, the small space of a car.
That's how I was kind of saying. I'm the idea of just it was really the personalities of these characters that really kind of sold us on it. And I want to give an actual appreciation because I've been saying this for a little bit now, especially about movies. We've been getting all these sequels and these stories that build off of other stories, and it's just a continuation of a legacy, fast fucking 11, Marvel the 64th movie, the remake of a movie made back in like 1972. Just all these movies that are just redone remakes and redos. A fresh new story with new characters in a new universe and a completely like new way to tell the story that isn't about pre-established knowledge. This is all stuff we learned in this movie. That's just a new, refreshing just take on, like, especially in the horror genre, which I have felt has definitely in the more recent years had a resurgence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm like thinking about like films like Get Out. I'm thinking about Obsession. Thinking about some of the Evil Dead. A lot of Sinners. Like, there's just so many movies that are kind of like taking audience intelligence into account, I think, and they're not making us like, I feel like there's some horror movies where they don't really care about the audience and the way that we think. But one thing I like about this is that the film is deliberately small. Most of it takes place in confined spaces, the music store, apartments, cars, like I was mentioning. Barker uses the spatial limitation to intensify the psychological pressure because there's literally nowhere to run. Bear can't escape Nikki because she's literally everywhere. She's inescapable. The cinematography reflects on that. There's a lot of close-ups, tight framing, a sense of being trapped in intimate spaces with someone who's rapidly becoming a threat. I think they even take that a step further. There's one scene in the movie where I think it's literally one of the next days from Bear spending the night with Nikki. I don't know where this girl got like 10 rolls of duct tape from.
You would have needed at least that many goddamn rolls. You would have needed
at least 10 rolls of duct tape.
No. You know what? I even say more because that was a lot of goddamn duct tape. It was a lot
of duct tape. So
either she brought it with her or Bear just had that shit on hand.
She had 10 rolls of duct tape, or Bear just had 10 rolls of duct tape somewhere in his tiny apartment. He wakes up and he's just like, okay, I'm going to work. And she's just like, yeah, no, I'm super happy you're going to work.
Like the biggest thing is like the camera pan. We don't know what he's looking at. We just get his expression of just like...
Yes, and that's the small spaces because we're seeing him view something that's not seen and we have no idea what to expect. But he's acting like everything is normal and he's acting like he's just going for a normal day of work, leaving his doting girlfriend, and she's just like acting like everything is normal. Camera slowly towards the door. And it's absolutely covered with duct tape. And when I say absolutely covered with duct tape, I mean like... Think of what you're thinking right now, and then
just
double
smothered,
it.
Yes.
Double smothered.
And he didn't. I want to be known. He didn't even acknowledge it.
He didn't acknowledge the duct tape.
He didn't ask about, hey, Nikki, what's with the door? Nothing. He just said goodbye, looks at the door, and just struggles to open the door.
He forcibly just like tries to rip it open, and it's taking him like some time, but he still doesn't acknowledge it. And Nikki is behind him being like, yeah, like still talking like everything is normal. Have a good day. Like, I'm going to miss you a lot. While he's just like forcibly opening this door and ripping off the duct tape. And it's really funny, honestly. Like it's a good moment, but that it just goes into like some of the genius behind like the cinematography in this. It's that tight framing. I think another thing in this is the sound design that is genuinely unsettling because there's moments where the audio creates more dread than any visual.
Yes. I think a lot of the key like sound effects genuinely built up dread in moments that just they don't seem to come off as very intense, but because the sound effects make it just like you're getting pulled into, oh, something's gonna happen. Like, when you're in a scene and you're like, things are very quiet or there's not much noise, and like you feel like, oh, something's gonna happen here, and then they move forward without the scene doing anything. It was actually very just like, even the little scenes, it didn't seem like they were amounted to anything. They kind of had you thinking something was about to happen, something off was about to split open here.
And I think that goes a little bit with our next thematic topic. It's the fact that this movie really kind of harkens to like a genre blending approach. Because Obsession lives in a super interesting space between supernatural horror, psychological thriller, and dark relationship drama. It isn't a ghost story, even though there is a supernatural element. It's not a slasher, even though things get violent. It's a film about relationships going wrong, powered by a supernatural event. So this is like a hybrid approach. And I feel like that's what makes it feel super fresh because it's not something that I've seen before.
Yeah, because I mean, really, realistically looking at this is just regular, normal day. This is regular human type of world. There's nothing special about this. Nothing different is happening.
Yeah.
There's nothing thematically that changes anything about the situation until this one little thing happens.
Yeah,
and then it just creates a cascade of things.
I do feel like we've seen a lot of be careful of what you wish for stories before, but what isn't necessarily seen is that this one is focused on, again, mundane horror of a toxic relationship amped up to its supernatural extremes. Most wish fulfillment horror is about external consequence, but obsession is about the consequences that live in your bedroom, that text you from work, that look at you with love. And it's like becoming indistinguishable from madness. And I think one of the most interesting things that does make it fresh with this wish concept is that the shop that he goes into, everybody that he talks to is so nonchalant about the fact that this wish thing actually works. They're not hiding anything. He's not.
I mean, initially
nonchalant.
when he went into the store, it was just this girl that was just literally not even paying attention to him. She was on her phone. Really not. She was basically closing time. About literally time for things to wrap up. And he just goes up and is like, I want to buy one of these. That girl doesn't think twice about selling this guy anything. He's like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Literally acting like it's like your fortune cookie. It's just going to give you your and you'll go about it.
One of the things is that they don't negate that it like is extremely powerful and it does work. They're just kind of like, well, we can't really be held liable for whatever happens to you if you die. And they just like kind of like say it with this most monotone like LA like vibe where they're just like, no.
Maybe not.
I don't know, maybe not. And if you die, that's like not my problem. And like, one of the things that I find very funny is that even at the end when he goes back to the store to kind of like be like, oh my gosh, what is wrong? He goes back into the store covered in blood, covered in like because of things that happen in the movie, super stressed out, obviously going through some things to ask some questions. And then again, he's met with the same kind of like,
nonchalantness about the situation.
It's so nonchalant. She's like, well, we warned you. Did you read the label? Like, did you read the label of the box?
If someone comes in covered in blood, hoodie on, like they're about to like rob the store, and you're like, well, you okay, buddy? That is just actually just one of those scenes where you're like, what is happening right now? Yeah. But genuinely, I think it was something that was already pre-understood, especially with the people working there, that these wishes are a little bit more than what they seem. And it is definitely a movie to kind of keep an eye out for.
Yeah. The box itself has a strict and highly specific label warning on it that I do want to like at least look at. So the One Wish Willow, you remove it from the box and you just make a wish. You crack, you spark the middle and break it in half. What are you wishing for? And some of the frequently asked questions on the One Wish Willow website, which actually is a thing. It's just like a fun website for the movie itself. It's like, how many times can I wish? It's a single use only, grants one wish, no multiple attempts. Using additional One Wish Willows will not change or affect your other wishes. Only one wish per life per person. Can I change my wish? Once a wish is made, a wish cannot be reversed or repeated. Consider long-term effects. Wishes are irreversible. Think carefully before wishing. Is there anything that I can't wish for? It cannot grant wishes involving time manipulation, resurrection, immortality, or creating more One Wish Willows. What if I am dissatisfied with my wish? TABI Cat Curiosities is not for wish misinterpretations. Use at your own risk. Users assume all responsibility for wish outcomes. So I think that it was the wish itself, like the box, it just like, it's kind of scary in of itself.
No, it's not. It's like if it's a fortune cookie. Like that's what everybody, like, I think there's so many things in like in real life scenarios where it's like, these are, you read your fortune here, get a kind of like a good little memento, a little kind of like, these words of encouragement type things that like exist in our day-to-day lives that we just kind of like, for a good faith, that we don't really put too much attention on, and we don't really put like real care into it. Like one of those things where you're just like, oh, if you have this necklace, it'll keep you from protection of such things. And it's like, I think some people take it a little bit more seriously than others. And I think it's one of those things where you're like, oh, you don't really put too much emphasis on it. So you're like, it's just one of these like gimmicky things. So let me just, whatever I'm going to say, it's just something that I'm going to think in my head and it's not really going to come true. But what if it does?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that brings us to our next little segment. It's going to be our final act synopsis. We're going to go over what happens in the final act and what it really means for the story, what it means for us as the viewer. You ready? Okay, so basically, after Bear makes a wish on the One Wish Willow for Nikki to love him more than anyone else in the world, the supernatural artifact transforms her into an entirely different person. Consumed by obsessive fixation on Bear, Nikki's behavior becomes increasingly violent and unstable, like we were talking about a little bit before. The climactic kind of event erupts at a house party where friends are gathered. During a Jenga drinking game, Nikki recites a really creepy,
Can we take like 2 seconds, just pause for a moment, and just Ian, which is Bear's, so this is basically his best friend. Yeah. Just how sick his apartment was.
Yeah, his
like what the
super sick.
Like he's got a sweet house, like.
And that's where this party is happening. It's at Ian's house, and it's a sick ass apartment. Like it's like everything that you would want as a young adult. And more, like as a chill spot.
This shit was fucking sweet. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, they're like at a bar or something. No, this is dude's house.
This is just dude's apartment, and it's so cool.
Like, yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I agree.
Sick ass apartment.
I agree, but we're in Ian's sick ass apartment. Nikki is obviously not herself. Everybody knows that, but everybody's just kind of like vibing. She wasn't even supposed to be there, which like is besides the point. She's there. She's doing this drinking game, and she gets up and she does like a really violent, incestuous retelling of Hansel and Gretel. And it's really creepy. Nikki herself is a writer. That's what she wants to do with her life. And like they kind of pull from that, but then it's like the cursed Nikki that is coming out and telling this creepy story to all of her friends, and nobody knows how to act about it, and it's just really awful and terrible. But then when Bear draws a block daring him to kiss the person to his left, which is one of our other characters, Sarah, Nikki does this like creepy walk over to Sarah out of camera, ousts her from her seat by dragging her chair slowly backwards, and the chair is like scraping across it.
It is completely quiet. No one says anything about this. This is just a quiet scenario that this is all happening in.
Yep, everybody in the party is just completely silent because Nikki just has this look on her face where she's just like has this crazy frown, and nobody says anything. She walks up, pulls Sarah away, and then kneels down next to Bear and then kisses him instead. And then once that happens, this is that other moment that I was talking about earlier where the real Nikki comes out, and it's absolutely freaking terrifying. So she kisses Bear instead, but then she like flips a switch, starts screaming, and then takes a broken bottle and stabs herself in the face with it, which was, this is one of those moments where I was absolutely hiding behind my blanket. It was incredibly scary. So from that point on, tensions just continued to escalate. And actually ultimately murders Sarah. And then that takes us to our kind of final sequence. At this point, Bear is desperate to actually undo.
Finally, after fucking I'm be honest with you, there hasn't been a character on screen that has made me really be like, this man's a fucking bitch more than this movie has ever made me feel.
Yeah, fuck Bear. We hate Bear.
And it's just a totality of just like, the realization of like this guy knows he messed up, but he doesn't want to fix it all the way. He only kind of wants the good parts to stay. He doesn't want the bad parts.
He wants to fix it for himself because he doesn't actually want Nikki to have her own wants and wills to return. But he is pretty desperate to undo the love spell because he just witnessed the murder of one of his friends. Bear does end up visiting Ian and begs him to make a wish on one of the remaining one-wish willows to reverse the damage that he's caused. Ian is super skeptical. He's dismissive about the whole situation.
As anybody would.
Yeah, he's just like, what are you talking about? This is really dumb. And then he's like super sarcastic during the whole thing. And so he like immediately takes the wish, breaks it, and says, I wish for $1 billion. Funny scene because cash literally immediately just
from
begins
the sky,
from
raining
the sky,
money.
and they're, mind you, they're inside Ian's cool ass apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just raining down from the sky. Cash just like starts falling down around them. Money just endlessly falls from above, and Bear stares at Ian and violently expressing his horror at this catastrophic misuse of the wish. Ian is stunned but delighted. He eventually heads out to verify his newfound wealth. Meanwhile, Nikki's obsession escalates to murderous extremes. And when Ian later arrives at Bear's place, after Bear comes home to Nikki, they have some stuff going on there. Mm-hmm. Bear and Nikki are in the apartment, kind of like going through some stuff. Ian opens the door. He's just like absolutely excited about the fact that he has $1 billion. Once he arrives, opens the door, Nikki takes a gun, shoots him dead without hesitation. Bear locks himself in the bathroom, contemplating suicide as the only way to break the spell and free Nikki from his curse. I don't think I mentioned this, but...
And he bitches out again.
Yeah, but like, I don't think I've mentioned this, but I do want to... One of the things about the One Wish Willow is that if you want the wish to disappear, you do have to kill yourself.
And then, it has been blatant along the way. It's explained multiple times.
Yeah, it's explained multiple times. So Bear prepares to overdose on oxycodone. He has second thoughts and attempts to induce vomiting. Because he's a little bitch. We hate Bear. He's a little bitch.
He gets stopped because unknowingly, when he had left one of the willows, there was still somebody who hadn't made a wish yet.
Yep. In that critical moment of him deciding to throw up the drugs that will kill him, Nikki breaks the final one wish willow, making her own wish, but as spooky Nikki. Mm-hmm. So under its influence, Bear completely changes. He emerges from the bathroom, kisses Nikki, and then the overdose takes effect and he dies in her arms. The spell then breaks with his death. Nikki, horrified and regaining control of herself, realizes what has happened. Surrounded by the bodies of her friends and her dying crush, she wails. Devastated by the carnage she was forced to commit, finally free but utterly destroyed. Boom.
And it ends just like that. No happy ending, no nothing. This is a group of friends that was utterly annihilated by one person's sheer obsession.
Yep.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is a fucking movie.
Yeah, and I think the film doesn't give you a satisfying, like, evil is defeated conclusion.
Oh, no, evil wasn't defeated.
Yeah.
I think in some reruns, I actually talk about, like, honestly, they like the movie was supposed to end with Nikki shooting herself.
Yeah, but that was actually considered to be too dark an ending, even for this movie's ending. And the better one that they actually only taped one time before just being like, yeah, that was better, was Nikki deciding not to shoot herself and instead just like
coming back to reality
in that moment, and just like looking at everything that was happening, which I think is much scarier.
Definitely, because it leaves you unsettled.
And it should be.
Because like now was like, what happens to Nikki? Well, Nikki definitely goes to jail. Like, she is not explaining this to anybody.
Yeah, there's no way that you can get away with what she did, even though she was possessed, and there's no way to prove that. So, but I think that's the ending that it should be, because the film is arguing that some mistakes can't be undone. Some desires, once indulged, change you in a way that you can't recover from. And I think that's the genuinely horrifying part of this. But it's not because of the jump scares or the violence, but because it's true in a way that most horror really isn't. But yeah, I think that there's a couple of other moments that we can go into. It's some of the gender dynamics of this. And I think it would be remiss not to mention that the film is dealing with some complicated gender dynamics, because Nikki is the one that becomes obsessed, which inverts the typical power dynamic in many horror films. Usually the obsessed male character is the threat. Here, Bear's desire is granted and Nikki becomes the threat. But not because she's evil, but because she's twisted by his wish into something inhuman. The film is commenting on how obsessive love, regardless of gender, is destructive. How when you strip away agency and transform someone into an extension of your desires, you don't get love, you get a monster. And that's basically the entirety of Obsession. For the finer details, and I think for like more interest, I really recommend watching it. We didn't go over everything because we don't want to spoil everything. But yeah, that's kind of like the meat and potatoes of Obsession 2026.
So, highly recommended. I think the director, Curry Barker, was definitely on the money with this one. Hopefully, we see him in a lot more future projects. He does have a few things coming up here, such as his movie Anything But Ghost, that should be premiering not too far in the near future. Another supernatural thriller. Just going over just the fact of very similar world as Obsession. He credits it same universe, just a different story with new characters. Definitely something to keep an eye out for that. As well as he's in talks of actually doing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot. That'll be an interesting one. Just a new tale on Leatherface and that whole gang. But obviously do keep an eye out on just the latest of Curry Barker. I feel like he's a director that we should all be keeping an eye out for. Definitely, if any of his projects are as good as this one, hopefully the movie industry has a lot more coming on. But I think that's a good little way to wrap it up for today.
Yeah, and what I'm really interested in is, what was your favorite session if you've watched it? After listening to what we were talking about, what is your biggest takeaway? What makes you want to watch this movie? And what makes you want to run for the hills with this type of content? So just to kind of bring back a little bit of like why we're doing these rewatchers and stuff, because I love movies so much, and so I want to do more than just horror. Come back if horror isn't your thing. Do listen, because we're gonna be going over comedies, dramedies, sci-fi, things like that. Mostly popular movies.
That's the latest and greatest of the new movies that come out.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to go over a couple of ones. I just wanted to do a little bit of a horror one first.
Yeah, do a first one. Honestly, it's just a movie that really caught our attention.
Yeah, I think it caught the attention of a lot of people our age. So with that, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a beautiful day wherever you are.
All right, and as always, stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.